I feel like I can expand time. And I have this feeling like when I want to get something done, it's not just about the time. I think it's also the way I approach the time. So it hugely for me, I think a benefit is kind of the mood around time, the attitude. So it's not restrictive. It's more open and there's more of a flow.
Welcome to The Way of the Muse, a podcast for women who want to create richness in every area of their lives, from business and career to lifestyle, relationships, family, purpose, and fulfillment. I'm Gigi Sage.
And I'm Makena Sage. We're a mother-daughter coaching team, and combined, we've spent over 4 decades helping people create their best and most fully expressed lives. If you're ready to step into your bigger dreams with ease, fun, and flow, you're in the right place. Let's get into the episode.
Okay, we're here with an episode today about time. And this is one that I had a lot of stress about for a very long time. And we see this with our clients and people we talk to sometimes, that there's a couple of different stresses that come up around time that we want to touch on today. So, Gigi, I'm excited to have you here because you have a very different way of navigating through time, and you've taught me so much about this over the years.
Yeah, but it came through practice and learning and took many years to, I think, relax around time. And sometimes I'm uptight about it as well.
Yeah. So these aren't distinctions that, you necessarily told me, but we were talking yesterday about this idea of in time and through time. So you're like, I don't know what those mean. But it is this thing we see, though, of people being on one side of the spectrum or the other around time, right? So some people are more what people call through time, which is kind of like my husband we were talking about is like this. I don't think he would mind me saying that. He's more of a through time person. And these are people who aren't as sort of linear about time. They're not watching the clock all the time. They typically don't naturally, they didn't live by a schedule maybe for a long time. And so there's a lot of beautiful things about that. What are some of the things you see, Gigi, as like the gifts of being more through time when you're someone that is more relaxed about time?
Well, you're more relaxed. And I know for myself, I feel like I can expand time. And I have this feeling like when I want to get something done, it's not just about the time. I think it's also the way I approach the time. So it hugely for me, I think a benefit is kind of the mood around time, the attitude. So it's not restrictive. It's more open and there's more of a flow.
Yeah, so true. And what about the challenges? Because we do see on the other side that people who are more through time, they struggle sometimes as well.
Yeah, I think that, I have a little bit on both, right? So, but I think the challenges on this part of it is, maybe sometimes it's a little bit, it feels unreliable, because they don't show up on time and for them, it doesn't matter. But I think the challenge is often they're in this world and they don't look at the impact of when they don't show up on time, how that impacts other people. And so it's being so much in your own world, in your own flow, that you don't realize, there's another world out there. And especially in business and things like that, we have to go by the clock in some areas, right? So I think that's some of the challenges there.
Yeah, the other frustration I see a lot with people that are more through time is they will often feel like, how do other people get so much done? They're like, they look at someone, I know this was with my husband and I, when we first met, he was like, oh my God, like, how do you get so much done? And it feels so challenging for me. And this is one of the things is like, I had learned to operate in such a way that I could really move something forward effectively with a sort of structured approach to time, which has its benefits, which we'll talk about in a moment, but also its drawbacks. But that is something I see with people who are through time, is that they often feel like other people somehow get all the stuff done, or they're more effective in this way, and they just don't understand it.
I think that's a key point, McKenna. They just don't understand it. It's like if you're really through time, often you look and you just go, I don't even know how to do that. And so that's for me where I found some skills that I could learn for myself. And one of those was time blocking. When I came across that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful system because I can block these times in my calendar to say, I'm going to work on writing and it's these 2 hours, and then I'm not trying to do the writing, every other day here or where, try to fit it in. I have this time created, and in that time, I don't do anything else. So the beautiful thing about that for somebody that's through time is it allows them to still use their creativity, because I think people that are through time, sometimes that's their thing, is they naturally are creative in their world,
Yeah.
And when you put the time blocking in and it's really set up for this particular thing that you want to do, and you're not going to do anything else, you're not going to distract yourself, then what happens is you get to still be creative, but you also get to focus. And the focus is so easy for you, right? That's part of your huge gifts.
One of my gifts,
to sit down, focus, and go for it and take action. And so that's one of the things. And the other thing is theming days. I theme days and I theme months. And what I mean by that is I'll theme a day that is more of a, let's say, administrative day. And I time block what I'm going to do in that day to get things done and knock things out. Because for somebody like me, if I don't do that, then it'll just kind of be woven somewhere. It'll never get done. I'll forget it even existed, actually. So
yeah, and I love these are skills, the time blocking and the theme days, that even though I'm more in time, and just to define what that is, that's someone that is more, again, typically more structured. They live by the clock. They look at the clock a lot. They might live by a calendar. But before you taught me about time blocking and theme days, I feel like I was much more reactionary. So even though I would live by a calendar and a clock very much, I would react to like, oh, people wanted to book something with me, I would book it with them, or I would put this on my calendar. It was all external. And when you taught me these skills of time blocking and theme days, I started doing it as well, where the way that, you and I both approach our calendars is very much, we have certain days that are for coaching, and we have certain days that are for deeper work on projects, or certain months that are, themed around this, and time blocks. And it seems structured, but that structure you taught me really creates more freedom, because instead of just reacting to things all the time, you're in the driver's seat and you're creating this kind of rhythm or flow. Is there anything else you want to say about that? Because I think this idea of structure creating freedom is a really important one for people who are through time, because they often feel like, oh, if I start to schedule myself, that's going to just like stamp out all my creativity.
This is such an important distinction. This is something, when I watch people get this, I think a whole new world opens for them. And, I think for me, when I learned this, because, we meet so many people say, I just want freedom. I want to be free. I want to be able to just do things when I want to do. I just want to have free time when I want to. But what happens is when you have all this time, most people just get lost. And like I said, especially somebody that is, more, not, I wouldn't say more creative, just maybe is more tapped into their creativity. And when you start to structure the time and you structure your free time, then what happens is you really start being more consistent with the way you want to use your time. You start thinking through what you want to do. And like we said, placing it into your calendar. And what happens with this, when you start setting that kind of system up, it creates so much freedom. And people are shocked, because structuring your time actually creates freedom for you. It is the key to freedom.
What do you mean by like structuring your free time even? Because I think people hear that and go, what are you talking about? That's supposed to be my free time.
Yeah. It's seeing what you want to do and then putting that into your calendar. And if it's, if you want time, you want time just to sit around and not do anything or enjoy yourself, you put that into your calendar. From 6 till 10 on Tuesday nights is my do whatever I want time. Or if you find that you do that and you really don't get anything done, then you may say, something for me, free time is around doing something, like I said, creative. So you say, in that evening, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to sit down and do this. And so when you start putting this into your calendar, then it frees you up. You start to feel like, I do get to have this time. Everything doesn't just run together. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And it was a big one for me. So just again, speaking to going a little deeper on people who are in time. And this is a lot of the women that, we end up working with and I end up working with, because they're often career women, high-powered business women. And so they've learned to operate in such a way that they do operate by a calendar and by a clock. And some of the good things about that are, again, you can get a lot done and often are very effective, and it can be really supportive, like you said, in business or career and in life in certain ways. But the challenges of being someone who is in time are, feeling stressed and pressured a lot of the time, feeling like there's not enough time. We hear this often with people, is there's just not enough time. I'm overwhelmed. I can't do everything, or time is running out. I'm getting too old to be able to do this or that I want to do. So that kind of pressure feeling around time, or like a time scarcity, is something that is a big challenge here that can lead to a lot of other, sort of knock-on effects that we've talked about before around maybe anxiety or health issues or other things. In fact, there was a book that I read a couple of years ago that we've recommended to a lot of our clients, which is The Great Leap by Gay Hendricks. And in it, he talks about something called Einstein time. And it's a little bit more of, being through time. And he's talking to people who are very much in time, like me, or like I was, and telling them about how can you shift your relationship to time here. So this piece, Gigi, you're talking about around structuring your free time is one that really, really helped me, because my husband and I actually created something called Slow Saturdays, which is no matter how busy things were getting, unless we really had something, that needed to happen on a Saturday, we don't block anything on our Saturdays. That's our one day that is blocked out to go with the flow. And it's so important because the rest of our time we structure so much that we actually structured in unstructured time. So that was really, really supportive for us.
And it was really good for your relationship too, right?
Oh my gosh, because he is more through time and I'm more in time. He was like, you were driving me crazy, woman. I cannot handle this. And he needs time where he can just completely go with the flow, even though he's so thankful that he's learned to, live in some ways by a calendar and to have more of a rhythm and to, get more done in that sense. But this gives us a place where we can meet more on his turf. And it's been really fun for me too. We turn off our phones for the most part, or we only, reply to family and things like that on Saturdays. And we just, whatever we feel like doing that day is what we do. And it's been so, so great. So Gigi,
great example.
Yeah. We were talking before about the pressure around time and how that doesn't really help. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I know for someone like me, or like I used to be, or some of the clients I work with, they're like, this is how I've operated. This is how I've, been able to get things done. I need the pressure. So what do you mean by this idea that the pressure around time doesn't actually help you?
Well, you'll see people that are controlled by time and they're very pressured and on the clock. And so there's this belief that the pressure is necessary in order to get things done. And when you step back and you see that, of course, it's really important to know what you want, how you want to focus, what you want to do, how you want to create something. But the pressure we put when we're doing it on ourselves and on other people it doesn't need to be there. It's an added thing to it. So I can wake up in the morning. I give this example all the time, and I can say, I've got to get this report done, or something. I've got to get this done by a certain time. I wake up, I'm pressured the moment I get out of bed. I'm talking about it, I'm sharing it, and oh my gosh, I just don't have that much time. And so I walk into sitting down to do that report with all this pressure that I have conjured up since I woke up, and I've talked about, and then I've shared it with other people in my world. And then I sit down and I feel pressured and I feel tight. And then all I'm worrying about, I'm not going to get this done on time. And so I'm creating my reality basically there from this state of pressure. And not only does it affect me, like I said, but if you go into your world with this kind of pressure and also controlling yourself, and it starts to control everyone else, it creates resistance in your environment and in people, and they will push back. And you'll see this in a family, if somebody, somebody in the family loves to control, and they don't love to, but that's what they're doing. And they go in and they're about to get ready and go somewhere, and they're controlling everything. And you can do that for so long, but then the kids start acting out and the partner gets upset. Whereas if you would have shifted that into a different approach, it would have been completely different about how it all would have panned out.
Can you give an example of that? Because I know that to be true. I've seen that so many times. But is there like a story you could tell about, just to illustrate for people what you're talking about here?
Yeah, there was Christmas one year. We were all going to this light show, and we had found out that, we thought it would start at a certain time, and we were already getting in the cars ready to go, and we realized it actually started an hour later than it did. So we decided to stop and go grab a snack on the way, because we basically had an extra hour or so. And one of the girls was, so stressed about the time and thought we should just go ahead and go, and we could wait. And that way we would find a place to park and we wouldn't have to fight traffic or anything.
This sounds like me. I don't remember this, but it sounds like me.
But we ended up, we got there at the perfect time. We went, got a snack, and everybody was relaxed, but then she was still stressed and everything. And when we got there, we ended up getting the first lane, or the first aisle, where we could have parked. We couldn't have gotten any closer. And so it all worked out. And everybody has had that experience, that's listening, I'm sure, to some degree. And that's more of that, like stepping in and going with that flow of time. And like I said, where time starts to expand, it's not about, oh my God, we're going to be late. It's about, oh my gosh, we have this expansion of time, and we're all going to align and go here. And it happened. It was just, we had a great time also. So that's
it. I love that story. And that's what he calls Einstein time in that book. And this is something that I know you're really practiced at, Gigi, and I've been learning more and more. And it is this thing of almost, the truth is time, from what I understand, and I am not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, but from what I understand is that time isn't actually as linear as we make it out to be as human beings. We experience it this way. We've measured it. But there's another level or layer at which it's not completely linear. And so it's kind of like this. If you're ever driving somewhere and you're running late, you have the experience of looking at the clock and being stressed about it. And have you ever had that experience? You hit every single red light on the way there. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you let go, and sometimes I will actually cover up like the ETA, the estimated time of arrival when I'm driving somewhere, if I'm stressed about the time, and I will just like put on some music, and you could spend that whole drive being stressed, or you could relax and be in the flow. And it's so interesting because it's not necessarily that you always get there earlier than you thought you would or something, although sometimes that does happen in my experience, that you hit more green lights than you thought you would and you get there earlier than you thought. But other times it's like something magical happens in the universe where you get there and the other person's running late too, or something happens where it somehow works out perfectly. I think that's what you were speaking to in your story there, is like the pressure and the stress just created more pressure and stress in everyone. But when you guys let go and you went and you had a coffee, or you had, a snack, or we did, I'm sure I was there. And then we got there and it all was just perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I have to go back to, like I said, when you wake up and how you approach. So the way that you can approach that is from a much more relaxed state is, again, saying, I really got to get this report done. And, then the focus is, hey, I want to get this done by this time, and relaxing and then going in and getting started and not bringing everybody else into it, and just sitting down and relaxing, say, I'm going to get this done. It's just the attitude or the mood is different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so can you are there any other examples, Gigi, you want to give in terms of how did you, because I think in some ways you're more naturally through time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also really learned to be structured and on time in building your businesses, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You have, like you said, a little bit of both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And growing up with me, I have one thing around time is being on time. I absolutely have a pressure around that. And, I told you this the other day, I know that and I've accepted it. And it's something that it's important to me. So, and sometimes I get really caught up because I feel like, oh my gosh, I want to be on time. It's really important. I leave way, way too early for things. But I have that's part of myself that I have said, that's okay. I don't mind getting to the airport 3 hours early. I like it. Because for me, that creates space and time. I can take my time, I can eat, I can work some, I can go to the clubs. And so I finally saw this is an issue, and of course, when other people, my poor children grew up with it, but for them, it's not so great. But for me, it's something I've accepted that is important to me. And it's absolutely about you to be on time. So,
yeah. What else have you done to kind of bring in more of this timeless, because that is part of your gift too, I think, this timeless feeling that might support someone who is more like me or like I was in the past, often stressed or structured around time?
Artful ritual, I think we've touched on this some, but, I have a lot to do, but I create buffer of things that, give me more like an aesthetic feeling in life. So that can be, for me, it's like, making my cappuccino in the morning and sitting outside and, taking time to drink that. I do that all the time. Like I'll feel myself get up and want to get right into things. And I'll be, no, make that cappuccino, sit down, even if it's 5 minutes. And I really enjoy having that cappuccino, and I really enjoy, the feeling, or I put on music and I start my day with music and my coffee, and I sit down for a few minutes and maybe I journal a little bit. So I like to create a feeling of beauty and again, a feeling of flow. So I always try to create an environment that is beautiful also. Maybe I light a candle, and it can be so simple and so little. It doesn't have to be a lot, but for me, it helps so much because it sets the tone for my day. It sets the tone for my time. And I feel
it puts you in a different state.
It does. And I feel like I've really honored myself when I do that. And there's something about it so simple that it really makes me feel like, oh, okay, now I'm ready to go to work, or now I'm ready to do these things. Because first I've really turned this and I've used time in a way that it really supported me.
That's an interesting distinction, because I do think that people who are more in time and more structured, often it feels like they have to live by this outside force. They have to live by the clock. They have to live by the calendar, and the keywords being have to, instead of really something as simple as what you're talking about is like taking that time back into your own hands, even for 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of your day, and doing something for you first that sets the tone. And I can just see how that would be a really different way to approach your day.
Mm-hmm. Sets the tone, and always for me, it's like it feels like it's more fun almost, again, I'm enjoying life instead of the clock is defining my life. That's something I resist hugely. And that when I I take this energy of like, I'm doing this because it's pleasurable and because I want to do it. And then I carry that into my day, then it's no more a have to, it's the more of that I want to.
Yeah. And I think this is a big piece to touch on too, is choosing where you invest your time, because a lot of the stress and pressure for me around time I keep wanting to say for a long time, but for many years was feeling like I had too much on my plate. And the truth was I often did have too much on my plate. So a really important element to all of this, to me, becoming more of what I like to call a time weaver. That was one of my names for one of the woman I'm stepping into. I always come up with a name, right, for whatever I'm embodying in a certain chapter of my life. And one of them was the effortless time weaver, because I really wanted to practice and capture this energy of the way that I move through time in a different way. And something that I learned was part of that is about choosing, taking the choice back about where I invest my time. And of course, there's certain things that we kind of have to do, but even those, it's like choosing them. Like, okay, I have certain obligations in my business, but I choose these, right? I choose to have meetings with our team or to coach people or to record our podcast episodes because I want our business and I want to make the difference that we get to make in the world and to have the freedom that we get to have in terms of our schedule and whatever else it is that I love about having our business. So I'm going to choose these. And even if I don't love every single one of them at a 10 out of 10, I love my business at a 10 out of 10. And so I'm choosing it. But the other thing is to go, okay, on the things that we really do have more choice in, is to ask yourself, like, to use that example again, is it a 10 out of 10? Am I doing this out of a sense of obligation, or because I think, someone's going to judge me if I don't do it, or because I just think I need to do every single thing that's on my list or every single thing people ask me to do? Or is this really something that's aligned for me right now? Mm-hmm. And I've gotten more and more discerning about that. And this has been huge for me, because often I think people just put too much on their plates at any given time. Mm-hmm. And a great question that came to me maybe 6 months or a year ago was this question of, what can I fully align my energy behind? I was doing some meditating and I was like, should I work on this project or this project? And the answer that came to me was, can you fully align your energy behind it? And I thought, well, that's such an interesting way of putting it. Am I going to be halfway doing it? Or am I going to be able to go like, yeah, I'm all in on this. And if I couldn't be all in, if I couldn't really align my energy behind it, then maybe it wasn't the right time. So those were a couple of distinctions for me in terms of really getting clearer on, what do I put that time into? And then the last one I'll share is that I had another aha moment a couple of months ago when we had a lot of different projects going, a lot of different things going on in my personal life. And I was like, I kept saying, I'm going to find the time, which for me was a step ahead of where I used to be, of just feeling stressed. But I was like, okay, I'll find the time. And then I was like, stop trying to find the time. And this is what you're talking about, Gigi, I think, with how time opens up in a different way. It's like, when I stopped trying to find the time and I just relaxed into, okay, I know what my priorities are. I know what the projects are we're working on. I know, my personal life. Then there might be a few minutes here or a few minutes there. This is so much of what you've taught me, Gigi, is when I come to visit you, not every single moment needs to be structured, which is often my way, but you'll be like, we'll be having a cup of coffee and then you'll just bring up some topic we need to talk about. I feel like this is really a gift of yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That one, Makena, when you get through that one, that is going to be life-changing completely.
I'm like 50% there on this one, you guys. Yeah. I've come so far. It's so different than I used to be. Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's just painful for me. It hurts. But it's true, when you start to move with time, then everything you need to get done naturally, like you said, we can be sitting there having a cup of coffee, and then we talk about things that we wanted, that we're going to structure some time to talk about, and we do it in a way that's we're enjoying it, we're having fun, and we don't have to then schedule that on our calendar. And you know me, I always push back. I don't want to schedule that time on my calendar. I just want to talk about it, So that just creates so much more ease in life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's like, it's definitely counterintuitive. It's actually almost paradoxical, where on the one hand, of course, you need to have some degree of structure in terms of, again, knowing what you maybe having a list of things you need to do or get clear on, or priorities or whatever it might be. But like you're saying, then it's moving with time and not sort of trying to make time bend to your will, which is definitely the way that I've operated in the past. It's relaxing into a little bit more trust and to your point, like enjoyment. Enjoyment. That's that artful ritual piece that you were talking about. But then for those of you, we spent a lot of time talking to the in time people here. For those of you who are very much through time, and that's the way you live your life, you're totally in the enjoyment side of the spectrum, or the, moving with time, is sometimes it is important to, what would you say to that, Gigi? Because there are also times where it's important to structure it a little more.
Just like we said early on, that's where the theming days and the time blocking, people that are through time, you have to do that. Otherwise you just don't get anything done, And so I think that's so important. Those couple of skills would be powerful, because otherwise, you're putting things off, or you're waiting until the right moment, or wait until it feels right. And so that's not, that's, like you said, that's a side to the way I go through time sometimes.
Yeah. And I think often we just need outside accountability, whichever side of the spectrum you're on. Sometimes you need an accountability partner or coach or something to support you to really practice this other way. If you are more through time and you want to move some things forward, then having timelines on certain things and times when you've agreed to do something by, and really sticking to that, helps you build a muscle of doing that. And then if you're more on the other side of the spectrum, then it is practicing relaxing a little more around things and trusting.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to touch on was this, sometimes when people are pressured around time, it is an indication, if it's been going that way for a really long time, it may be an indication that something needs to shift, right? That you need to let go of something on your list, or maybe you're working too many different jobs, or the way you're approaching things on a bigger scale really needs to shift. So just be tuned into that as you're kind of considering this for yourself. If you're trying on the different things we've taught today or we've talked about, and you're going, okay, this is helping some, but I'm just still so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed, I just keep ending up in the same place again and again, that's where sometimes you do need to let some things go, reprioritize, or make some kind of change, a bigger change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, you see people, it's almost like, they say a dog chasing its tail, right? we just keep on repeating the same thing over and over, and being, like you said, stressed. And often, that goes back a little bit to our topic when we talked about a bigger problem or something. If you keep on repeating the same thing, you need a different problem. A bigger better problem.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to that episode if you'd like. We'll be sure to link it in the show notes. And yeah, that's definitely, I think, an important distinction here as well. So we've covered a lot, I think, on this idea of time. So hopefully, whichever side of the spectrum you find yourself on, first of all, it's just to give yourself some grace and love the way that you are, because there's absolutely a gift in it. There's 100% a gift in my structured intensity at times. And there's also really a huge gift in Gigi's more on the other side, or my husband, or some of you listening. There's so much beauty to being someone who can move through time in that very relaxed and artful way. So love yourself first, and then just get curious and go, can I try on one thing that I learned today try it on, like we always say, for 30 days and see what changes in the quality of your life, your experience, your results. So thank you, Gigi, for
thank you, Makena,
all your wisdom. And thank you everyone for listening.
Because of Makena's structure and time, we have a podcast. So we're
yes, it definitely has its uses.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks
so much. Bye.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed this episode and you're curious about diving deeper, you will love The Collective, our monthly membership program. Think of this as the group of girlfriends you always wish you had, plus the coaching and support to step into the woman you're meant to be and the life and success you've been dreaming of. It includes powerful courses, live connection and coaching calls, and a community of like-minded women around the world, plus lots of other incredible bonuses. Every 8 to 10 weeks, we begin a new season focused on a topic like self-love, stepping into your bigger purpose, breaking through fear and self-doubt, or growing your success with more ease and flow. You can join the monthly membership for just $197 or sign up for the year and get an all-access course pass and enjoy huge savings on your annual membership. Learn more at wayofthemuse.com/collective. That's our episode for today, but let's not make it the end of our love story. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and think of some women in your life you'd love to share it with. And if you want to learn more about our events and programs, visit wayofthemuse.com. See you next time.